Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Nun Ches Amud Aleph, starting with Daf Nun Zayin Amud Beis, 9 lines from the bottom. The Gemara quotes the Sefer of our Mishnah that the Kohen Gadol then takes the dam of the par and he pours it into the mizrak of the dam of the so'ir. The Gemara points out Tnan Keman Da'omar Mar'avin Likronois. Our Mishnah goes like the opinion that you mix the dam together before applying the dam on the corners of the Mizbeach HaPnimi. Now, it's important to note that everybody agrees that there's the mixture of the dam, of the par and the soyer before the sprinkling of the dam on the inner Mizbeach. But the applications on the corners is what we're speaking about. And there's a machlokes as follows. Dietmar, Rabbi Yoshia, Rabbi Yonason. Chad Omar Ma'arvin v'Chad Omar Ein Ma'arvin. One of the two says that you do mix the two domim before the applications on the kronos hamizbeach hapnimi, while the other one says you do not. Tistayim Rabbi Yoshia hu the Omar Ma'arvin. Let us conclude that it's Rabbi Yoshia that says that you do indeed mix the dam apar and the dam asor before applying it onto the corners of the mizbeach. The Omar afagav the loik siv yachtov keman dechsiv yachtov domim, because he said even though it's not written yachtov together, it still means yachtov. He's referring to in regards to one who's mekalil his parents. So there, even though he says it does not state yachtov, it's as if that it means yachtov, meaning to say that the pashtus would mean that the way he's learning is that when it's together, when a person is mekalil, his father and his mother, both of them together, then he's going to then be held accountable. Let's take a look at Rashi over here in Dibra Maschil. The Omar Afak of the look Siv Yachtov. Rashi explained the Tanya. It's in the following brayso in Sanhedrin. Ish asher yikalil es aviv es imoy. The pasuk states that a man that will curse his father and his mother. Einli elo aviv v'imoy. I only know his father and his mother. Mashma, both of them. Aviv below imoy, imoy below aviv minayim. If he only curses one of the two, how do I know that he's going to be held accountable? Talmud loymar. He says, Aviv kilel, imoy kilel. The pasuk that he's quoting over here states, Yikalel es aviv, and then it says at the end, the imoy kilel. So he learns that each one is going to be held accountable for, even if it's not both of them together. Div Rabbi Yoshia. In other words, without those actual additional words of aviv kilel, Yikalel es aviv v'imoy kilel, that implies that it's even separately, he's going to hold accountable if it was makalel them separately. But without those words, it would be mashma that only together, even though it doesn't say yachtov. Rabbi Yonason oimer mashma shneim ke'echad u'mashma kol echad ve'echad ba'atzmoi ashibir l'cha akosiv yachtov. Rabbi Yonason argues and he says it's mashma both. Whether you curse them both together or separately, that is the mashmos. When it says aviv v'imoy, it means merely aviv oy imoy. Al-Mol Rabbi Yoshia, Iloi Hadar Ksiv Aviv V'imo Kilel. If it did not repeat those words to tell us that it's even true when it's the father or the mother, Havamina Reishi Dekro Shneim Ke'echad Mashma, then I would learn that it means together, only if they're cursing them together, even though it doesn't say the word Yachtov. Hachanami, so too in our Gemara, midam hapar midam hasoyer shneim ke'echad mashma. When it says that he takes the dam hapar and the dam hasoyer, it also means both of them together, even though it doesn't say the words yachtov. Back in our Gemara. So therefore, we can conclude lechara that the Tana that goes like our Mishnah is referring to Rav Yoshia, who says that you mix the dam even for the applications of the corners of the mizbeach. The Gemara says no. Afilu teima Rabbi Yonason. You can even learn that Rabbi Yonason agrees that indeed you must mix the two damim together. Shiny hacha, because here it's different. It says in the pasuk, achas Now in the posuk, since it's achas, it's mashma only one application, which mean the blood is mixed together, and you don't do it separately, the par and separately the seir. Tanya, Deloy, Gemara points out, Tanya, Deloy Kishinuyon. However, we have a brisa not like we were just answering on behalf of Rabbi Yonasan. In fact, we can prove that it's only Rabbi Yoshia that says you must mix the dam, and Rabbi Yonasan does not require mixing the dam. As follows, says in the brisa, V'lokach midam apar midam asor, and he shall take from the blood of the par and the blood of the he-goat, sheyu ma'arovin divrei Rabbi Yoshia, that they should be mixed together. He learns from this pasuk, Rabbi Yoshia, that it means that they're together. Top of Nun Ches Amud Aleph. Rabbi Yonasan oimer mizeh b'fnei atzmo mizeh b'fnei atzmo. Rabbi Yonasan says you take them separately. It's the par's dam and then the soyer's dam. Omer lo Rabbi Yoshaya. Rabbi Yoshaya turns to Rabbi Yonasan and he says to him, Ve'halo kvar ne'emar achas. Does it not say in the pasuk achas, implying that it's all together, it's only one sprinkling? Omar lo Rabbi Yonasan, Ve'halo kvar ne'emar midam apar midam asoyer. Does not state from the dam of the par and dam of soyer, which is mashma two different damim. Otherwise, just say midam apar v'hasoyer. The fact that midam apar v'dam asoyer is mashma two different damim. Im kain, says Rabbi Yonasan, Lama nemar achas. So what do I do with the pasuk when it says achas? Loy malacha. Achas v'lo shtayim midam apar, ach lo shtayim midam asor. It means to say from the dam of the par it's only one and not two applications. And dam asor it's only one and not two. So there's a machloikis how you learn achas. According to Rabbi Yoshia, achas means a mixture of the two together. According to Rabbi Yonasan, it means one of the par of the dam of the par and one of the dam of the soyer. Ata oimish yumurovin ze bezeh, or eino ella mizeh b'fnei azmi mizeh b'fnei atzmoi. The brisa continues. Go back. Tanya idach. There's another brisa that's quoted over here in the Gemara. V'lokach midam apar midam asoy yumurovin ze bezeh. The pasuk that says that he shall take the dam of the par and dam of the soyer, that they should be mixed together. Ata oimish yumurovin ze. Or does it mean that they should be separate, the dam of the par and the dam of the soyer? Talmud loymar achas. On that, the brisa concludes achas implying that it's all mixed together. The Gemara concludes from this brisa v'stamo ki Rabbi Yoshia, and the stam over here in this brisa is like the opinion of Rabbi Yoshia. The Gemara now quotes the last few words of the Mishnah. After he mixes the dam of the par by pouring the dam of the par from its mizrak into the mizrak of the dam of the soyer, it says Noson es hamole berekon. The last words in the Mishnah are, and he puts the mole into the rekon. So the Gemara says, Boy mine Rabbi Rami Bar Chama me Rav Chisda. Rabbi Bar Chama asked Rav Chisda the following question: Hiniach mizrak betoich mizrak vekibo boy es hadam. He asked him a general question. If a kohen, throughout the whole year, nothing to do necessarily with Yom Kippurim, and he's mekabel the dam, the avoid of kabbalas hadam, he does so in the mizrak, into the kli shares. But instead of using one kli shares, one mizrak, he puts one inside the other. Is that valid or not? After all, the pasuk says that v'lokach es hakohen. Lokach implies that the kohen will take it, meaning to say that when he will take it, it has to be without any type of chatzitza. So is this going to be valid or not? Mao, what's the din? Min b'minoi chaytzitz or eno chaytzitz? Do we say since it's another mizrak, so therefore it's the same min, whereby it's not chaytzitz, it does not make a chatzitza, and therefore it's like the kohen is actually then mekabel the dam as he should be in his hand, or no, it is chaytzitz. Says the Gemara, Omar lei Tanisua. We learn from our Mishnah, L'chara, the answer to your question, Noson es hamole berekon. Our Mishnah says that he puts the dam, mole, in the rekon. So that's mashma, L'chara, that after the Gemara understands, he was shoveh the dam of the par from its mizrak to the dam of the soyer, then he placed the mole in the rekon. He took that mizrak that's full of dam, of the mixture, and he now places it inside of the mizrak that's empty now. And therefore, there also, it says the Lashon of Velokach. It also has to be required a lekicha, that it should be then without any chatzitza. So we haven't answered the question. My lav hoishi mizrak miloi mole letoich mizrak rekan is not what we're talking about, where he takes the entire mizrak that's full of the mixture of dam, and he puts it now, he then puts the mizrak under, the empty one underneath it. So he has now two klei shares, and you see that it's l'chara not then a chatzitza. The Gemara says, "Lo, you have no proof from our Mishnah because that's not the kavanah. Rather, the kavanah of the Mishnah is eira mizrak maloi letoch mizrak dreikan. The kavanah is that you take after you were shoifek the dam of the par into the dam of the so'ir, and it's mixed together. Then the Mishnah says, pour the whole thing back into the first mizrak, where it was before in the par, and now it's mixed together again. Ask the Gemara, Hatana le reisho, eira dama par letoch dama so'ir. You already mixed it by putting the dama par into dama so'ir. Why would you then take the entire mixture and pour it back into an empty kli? Answers the Gemara, Kedei la'arbein yafe yafe, in order to mix them very well. So we have no proof from our Mishnah. We're back to the question. Indeed, is this considered to be when a person is mekabel, a kohen is mekabel, the dam of the dam in the carbon, and he uses two kalim? Is that considered to be a chatzitza or not? Says the Gemara, Toshma, let's bring a braya. It says, Hoya oy made al gabe kli, oy al gabe regel chaveroi posel. If he's standing, there can't be a chatzitza of the kohen between his feet and the ground. And indeed, if he stands either on a kli or even on his fellow man's foot, his fellow kohen's foot, it's considered to be a chatzitza, whereby it's posel. So you see, even min b'mino is posel. So too over here, when it comes to a kli inside of another kli, granted it's min b'mino, but it's posel, it's chaytetz. The Gemara says, no, shiny regel, you have no proof from here, because regel is different. Why? Explains the Gemara. The lemotzi mevatele. Since when it comes to the regel, it's your fellow kohen's regel. You can't mevatel that regel, and therefore he might take that regel away. Therefore, it's considered to be a chatzitza and it's poisel. But by us, that's not so. By us, you can mevatel that kli, so that's bottled to the other kli, and therefore it won't be a chatzitza. So you have no proof from here. Ikadami, the Gemara brings another version of the question that was asked by Rami Bar Chama to Rav Chisda. Hochi boy minei. This is what he's asked him. Derech sheirus bekach or ino derech sheirus bekach. Is this a derech of avoida of service or not? In other words, let's assume that there's no chatzitza. They will say that there's no chatzitza. Min b'mino is eno chaytzitz. So you can have two kelim in the sense that it's not going to you're not going to then be a chatzitza and poisel. But there still is another question that we need to ask. Is this considered to be a service that's valid? If it's unusual, then it's not going to be a valid service. So is this considered to be usual enough to be valid? That's the question of the Gemara. Toshma, let's bring a raya. The Beit Rabbi Yishmael. The Beis Medrash Rabbi Yishmael answered the following. Es kol klei hashares asher yisharsum bam b'kodesh. Here it says kol klei, and klei is a lashon of plural of rabim, many vessels. Hashares, the Gemara understands hashares is singular, the service. Asher yisharsum bam b'kodesh. Shnei kelim v'sheirus achas. We find two kelim doing one service. So you see that's not unusual. It's considered to be a valid sheirus. So that would answer that indeed you can go ahead and use the two kelim to mekabel the dam. Boy minei Rami Bar Chama me Rav Chisda. He asked now a new question to Rav Chisda. Hiniach siv b'toich ha-mizrak v'kibel boyas hadam mahu. He has a mizrak, the kli sharis that he's going to mekabel the dam with. But inside that kli mizrak, he has a sieve. A sieve is really vines with it sounds like a palm branch that is inside as a form of a sieve. And the question is that going to then make a chatzitza? The Gemara says, is it mean b'she'eno mino chaytzitz or eno chaytzitz? Do we say that since it's not the same min as the kli shares, therefore it's going to be chaytzitz? Or here it's not chaytzitz. Why should it not be chaytzitz? The Gemara explains this question. Kivan dish mechalchel loy chayitz, or dilma loy shna. The reason why it's not chayitz, even though it's min b'she'eno mino, is because it's mechalchel. Mechalchel means that it's porous, allowing the blood to go through. Since the blood can go through, it can then provide, it doesn't then make a chitzitza, and it's valid. Or perhaps we say no, even though it's true blood flows through this sieve, it makes it still invalid because min she'eno mino. Omar lei. So Rav Papa answered him, Rav Chizda answered him, Tanina, we learned, Zoylef v'hoylech asher megia lisvoig. It says in the Mishnah in Para, in regard to then making the water, the ultimate mei para, for the sprinkling of the para aduma. So it has a scenario where inside of a hollowed out rock, there is a svoig, there is a sponge. So there it says, what do you do with the water inside that you want to use? It has to be water that's from a spring, and you want to use that water. So is that sponge that is inside this hollowed out stone going to then make a chatzitza? Now, the water inside this sponge itself, that's going to be invalid. And that will poisel all the other water if it's mixed together with the other water. So what is the solution? The Mishnah says, Zoylef v'hoylech ad shemagil lisvoig. You should then draw out and empty the water before it then gets to the svoig, the part of the svoig. In other words, you separate it out. So we see from over here, l'chara then, that is not considered to be chatzitza. So to over here, in our case, the sieve inside the kli is not going to be a chatzitza either. Gemara says, "Shiny maya de klishi." The Gemara says you don't have a proof from this Mishnah in Para because water is lighter, it's thinner, and it will flow easier, flow through. So therefore, the sponge is not considered to be a chatzitza. But over here, we're talking about blood. Blood is thicker, and therefore would be considered to be a chatzitza. Ika d'amri. However, the Zohar say that no, even over here, the blood, since it can go through, it won't be considered to be a chatzitza. Hachi poshit le bedam kosher. In regard to the dam, it will not be a chatzitza, and a sieve inside a kli sharis that mekabel the dam would make it still valid. However, the koimates puzzle. Since the koimates is a mincha offering that the kohen takes a koimates in his hand, and he takes that, let's say, flour offering, and he puts it now inside a kli sharis. That putting in the kli sharis is like being mekabel dam. It's the same thing as a Kabbalas Hadam in a korban. This is like the same thing in regards to the mincha offering. So in regards to the dam, we say it's not a chatzitza because it's porous and it goes through. The dam is able to flow through. Maybe not as well as water, but still flows through. When it comes to the flour, since that's thicker substance, then it poses a chatzitza and therefore it's invalid.